Welcome to Texas Honda Channel. Hope everyone is having a blessed day. This is part 17 of K-swapping the Mazda B2300. And in this video, if God is willing, this truck will run and drive and maybe even do a burnout. Before we get started installing the K-Pro and doing a calibration upload, which I will be showing you how to do, I'm going to go over a few things. So first thing, Jackspania Racing sent the oil feed adapter up here and the oil return one on the bottom. So I got the oil feed and return line hooked up, and I was cranking it over to circulate the oil through it, make sure I had good oil pressure, and the engine seized. And I thought, how can I make it this far and the engine seized? God was testing my faith, and I came out on top, thankfully. Good people still exist, and I stepped back from it because I couldn't figure it out. I checked timing marks, everything. Pulled the starter off, couldn't crank it by hand. And I pulled the transmission, even went and got another RX-8 6-speed manual, swapped it in here, and pulled that one out. That one was perfectly fine. So I'm sitting here like, what do I do? So I have to get another engine. Well, my neighbor is a good friend and a mechanic, and he came over here and he was like, oh man, it looks so cool. Did you try pulling the belt off and trying it? And I was like, no, well, let's try that. So I did, and this pulley ended up being on backwards. I know, noob mistake, right? So I swapped the pulley around and tightened it down, and everything is good. So it was basically seized on there. So I was able to crank it over with it, with the transmission off. These engines, you can start them up without the transmission attached. And I was cranking it over perfectly fine after pulling the belt off. But now it cranks over great, and we're gonna install the K-Pro. Like I said, if God is willing, this thing will run. So Sinformant still has my mount brackets, so I'm just using these dinky little pieces of steel down there, but it should hold everything in place. When I'm cranking it, it sure does. And yeah, so now I've got a low mileage 6-speed RX-8 transmission in here, a backup one just in case, and the drive shaft's still hooked up. Everything's good to go there. I did hook up a coolant sensor down there. It's kind of hard to see. There's an orange and white wire that comes out of here, out of the relays for the AC condenser fan, which is over there. And that wire, when you ground it, turns that fan on when the keys turn forward. So I ran that to a typical DB series style coolant fan switch, and then the other end just grounds right here. So when it hits 190 degrees, the fans will just kick on automatically, so I don't have to use K-Pro or anything like that to turn them on. But since I have K-Pro, I could just have the signal wire come out and activate fans. So we have fans, we have oil pressure. I topped it off on coolant, no leaks. So we've got fuel pressure. Everything's looking really good. So now we're gonna go over to the laptop, and I'm gonna show you how to upload a calibration. Okay, so I went to hondata.com, downloaded K-Manager. This is version 4.4.6. We're gonna go ahead to new calibration, click on that. There's a vehicle type, there's a drop-down menu. We're gonna click RSX base, because that's the engine. It's a K20A3, unfortunately. And I'm gonna click the 91 octane tune. We're just gonna start with that, click OK. Okay, from here, we're gonna go up to options. We're gonna go to show boost tables. So that'll show your boost columns, basically. And on that side, it shows timing and fuel for low side and high side of the cam. We're going to go ahead and go to parameters. One of the first things I'm going to do is go straight to miscellaneous up here at the top right. We're going to disable the immobilizer, and I'm going to disable the other stuff on here as well. I'm going to go to use VTEC pressure switch. I'm going to click that. I have no speed sensor, so we're just going to go ahead and click that button. Then we're going to go up to the top right where it says multiplexer. Click that and disable it. Then we have to go to VTEC and disable the oil pressure switch. That is for the multiplexer unit and stuff like that. So now that we've got that out of the way, the next thing we're going to do is the throttle. We're going to adjust that, but we have to install the ECU in the truck to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and install the ECU, and I'll show you the rest. I'm going to take the CRV computer out of here and put the Hondata in. Just like that. Now I'm going to connect the cable it came with directly to, and then the other end will go into the laptop. Okay, now we got the ECU installed. We're going to turn the key to the on position. And you can see here it says click here, press F10 to data log. We are going to click the upload button to the left of that. That'll upload the calibration. Then we'll click the lightning bolt to start seeing some live data. Click this display button. You can see TPS right now is at 6% without me touching it, and 111 to 112 with fully floored. So we're going to go to parameters to adjust that. Right here we have throttle, and we click that. We'll go to minimum reading. That's without touching it, so I'm going to click read. It says 6.8%. Go to maximum reading, click read while fully flooring it, 110%. So now we're going to go ahead and go back to the display. You can see before I upload the calibration it's still 6%, but as soon as I upload it, it should zero out, which it did. And there we go. Now the throttle is adjusted. So the only thing left to do is to fire it up. So here we go. There it is. She's alive. Oh, I really need to get the rest of that exhaust fixed because this is really loud. But I'm going to check under it real quick, make sure we don't have any leaks. Everything's looking good under there. Coolant's all topped off. So the only thing left to do is make sure everything's good on the calibration and take it down the street and see if it drives. Alright, everything is looking good. Clutch feels good. So go ahead and push this down, put it in reverse. Moving under its own power. Awesome. I've been waiting for this for a while. So now I'm going to basically just going to take it down the street to see how it feels with the drive shaft, because still not too sure on all that. As you can see, it's not too hard with the power steering not being there. So far so good, guys. So good. Let's take a look at the data log here. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the engine coolant temp. 141's looking good. Air intake temp's looking pretty decent for how hot it is today. Everything's looking good. So next thing to do is a burnout. Alright, that was super fun. Unfortunately, it's not a posi diff, so it only spun this side, which I didn't have the camera on this side, but it is what it is. Still definitely did it. Also, for the black mark, it's pretty thick, and to get rid of them, spray some brake clean, hit it with a wire brush, comes right up. So I'm going to actually do that while it's fresh. But as for the diff, I'm probably going to get a spare one and get an actual posi unit put in it. And on this one, I'm probably just going to weld it up. I have driven 240SXs and Miatas and stuff like that as my dailies with welded diffs, and I absolutely loved it. It actually made it easier to drive in the wintertime for me because I wasn't just spinning one wheel. But to each their own. If you guys don't like welded diffs, that's on you. But I love them, so I'm going to do that in the future for sure. Also, I got these bracelets today finally. It says, "What would Jesus do?" That was the #1 thing with this build. Like, I was wanting to lose my cool so many times, and I just kept thinking, what would Jesus do? What would Jesus do? So one of the main reasons this build has come this far is because of my faith in God. I put all of my worries in his hands, and he provides. So I just wanted to let you guys know anything is possible with God on your side. Everyone was saying that this wouldn't work and it would fail and I'm a loser and all this other stuff. And I put all my worries on God and just ask myself in every single situation in my life, what would Jesus do? So that's why I'm wearing these bracelets. I'll leave a link in the description where you can get some of these, by the way. I don't make money off of them. It's just an Amazon seller, but definitely something to remember when you're doing stuff. But yeah, I am super happy with it. It runs and drives. A huge shout out to everyone who donated to the build. Jackspania Racing, Maxpeedingrods for the turbo and intercooler kit. Jackspania sent the fuel rail and gauge with the wastegate and blow-off valve, the oil feed and return, stuff like that. Those donations helped tremendously. We raised like $450 in donations from people, so huge shout out to you guys. At the end of this, I will put all of the people who donated on screen. You guys are the reason this is actually going. But yeah, definitely making progress. We still have a lot to do, but you've seen it run and drive. I got to work out any little bugs it does have. I still have to get an O2 sensor and a wideband put in there. That way we can get it properly tuned. Probably going to hit up Michael for the tune. I know you guys are probably thinking, why not Eric from AGN Tuning? I let him do the TL, so I'm going to have Michael do this. We'll try to get this on Eric's dyno to see what it makes in the future, so don't expect numbers right now. I'm still working everything out. We got to make sure the drive shaft's still good enough for highway speeds and stuff like that. There's still a lot of little things, but it does run and drive, and I will have a full video from start to finish of how I did this. It may be a longer video. I'd appreciate it if you shared that around as well when it comes out, and hit the like button. It helps me tremendously. This is because of you guys. Just keep that in mind. Mazda B2300 with a K20 swap, and it's a how-to as well. Also forgot to show you the reverse lights work. So if I turn the key forward, push this down, go into reverse, the reverse lights should be on. There they are. So that's with the reverse light switch hooked up, which all of this will be in a super detailed video. It'll probably be a longer video, but it'll be from start to finish. That's at least the plan. And I still have to get some gauges because the coolant gauge wasn't working. It would jump straight to hot as soon as it would get warm. It was barely 150 degrees and that was already at the overheating. So I have to get a aftermarket coolant pod gauge. I disconnected the tach because I didn't want it to be an issue, but I'll probably hook it up and make sure it still works because I had it hooked up. I just didn't want it to like fry the computer or something, so I was just being cautious. But yeah, speedometer won't work because there's no speed sensor as far as I know. I'll have to definitely check while I'm driving, see if the diff speed sensor will activate the speedometer cluster. We will find out. There are still some bugs to work out. I still got to clean it up in here a little bit more, but it is definitely running and driving. So now I can actually use it as a work truck again and do a lot of rips, of course, which I will definitely have more pool videos once I get everything sorted out. I don't want to get on it too much right now. Just doing the Burnout was probably a bad idea since it wasn't properly tuned, but I wanted to get you guys some really good content that you definitely deserved. But yeah, that's basically it for this video. There will be more coming for sure, so definitely hit that subscribe button if you haven't. Turn that bell icon on to get notified of every upload, and I will have more videos coming out as soon as possible. But until the next video, God bless, stay safe, stay awesome.